also find out about my weekly love-hate list, my rankings, and much more. So tune in noon at Peacock, listen on SiriusXM, NBC Sports Audio Channel 85, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We sitting here talking about law practice? It's not a game. It's not a game. With over 900 lawyers nationwide and $15 billion to cover, we got full court domination. No more questions.
Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Proud sponsor of the Philadelphia 76ers. Offices, Philadelphia.
There's a saying that was born in Louisiana, and it's being heard all around the country. Pass a good time. It means whenever good friends and family get together, good times and great food are definitely being passed around. Whether it's in the kitchen, on the grill, at the table, or even in the great outdoors, Tony Chachere's famous Creole seasoning is always part of the celebration. So grab a little green can and pass a good time. Tony Chachere's makes everything taste great.
Attention, I'm calling on the trendsetters and the underdogs, the disruptors and the slept on, the ones who've been told they're too much. Welcome to NFL Flag. In this game, there's a position for everyone. No matter who you are, just bring it. Get ready to run, throw, jump, and fly. This game is our game. Let's play. Visit NFLflag.com to find a league and get playing today.
Championship is on Sirius XM. Michigan looks to win their first title since 1997.
Breaks a tackle to the 5, touchdown, Wolverine!
The Washington Huskies hope to cap an undefeated season with their first national championship in over 30 years.
Fires a fastball. Are you kidding me?
Monday at 7:30 Eastern. Hear the national broadcast on Channel 80. The Michigan Call on Channel 81. The Washington broadcast is on Channel 84. And all the action is on the Sirius XM app.
You gotta get there you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get there you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Just because you leave town doesn't mean you should go without your commercial-free music, play-by-play from your favorite teams, or the programs, entertainment, or news you listen to every morning. Get Sirius XM and get the radio you love coast to coast. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com to activate your radio now.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
In mind and just find a way to win.
It's the final week of the NFL regular season, and playoff hopes are on the line.
They win it at home, and now the playoff
chances still live.
Who advances? Who goes home? We're previewing all the key matchups and playoff scenarios right now on NFL Radio Channel 88.
They're already in playoff mode as their season is on the line.
As the drama plays out, hear every game with the hometown announcers on your radio and on the SiriusXM app.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network and the Double One Network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, the people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood in Dimdare Hills, California, on a beautiful January 5th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. If that makes sense to you, give that some praise. I want to say today, this is a beautiful show, and I had a special privilege today to visit the state capitol in California, in Dimdare Hills, California, and also had the chance to stop by Senator Stephen Bradford's office, and with my colleagues, the Double O, Aleem Shabazz, and also myself, known as Big C. Today's show, you can find us on 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. Follow us on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Health Opposition Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise. You ever been wise? Podbay, River Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast Republic, and one that used to scare me but now doesn't is allfees.ai. We don't want to give the robots some praise. We don't want to give the robots praise because they're trying to take over everything. I mean, they already are. When I went to the state capitol today, we had to go through what's called an electronic metal detector. Well, they make sure that you don't have anything that they want to detect before you go into the capitol. Makes sense to me. Leave your guns outside when you walk into the state capitol of California. I want to tell you what I love. What I love that does not need a wand is PSAs for our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, you can call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. It is nice when somebody's leaning back, if that makes sense to you. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. And what light there was at the state capitol today, because the National Black Wall Street Project showed up, and people say, you look like senators. Yeah, we do feel like senators, if that makes sense to you. And my show is a little bit different today, like it normally is, but I always say on Big C Sports Podcast, I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. Number one, I always produce the show. Number two, I direct all the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter. I can use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storytelling, I even do the play-by-play. 49ers up to the line of scrimmage. 4 wideouts, 5-man front by the Rams. And you have Sam Darnold replacing Purdy. The snap, back to pass. He's rolling to his right. He throws downfield. The ball is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, Niners. Debo Samuel, 50 yards. You're going to hear that when they take on the Rams this weekend at Levi Stadium in Dimdare Hills, California. And then I upload the show. It goes out to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and I'm in Dimdare Hills, California. And then, as I tell you, 4 TV platforms streaming: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And number 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back at Salem Media. Give that some praise in Denver Hills, California. I know as I always do my show, I'm going to say a little bit different start today because it's necessary. As I mentioned, the National Black Wall Street Project was at the state capitol today with Double O, the payout committee, and then co-chair Aleem Shabazz, and then me, Big C, and had a chance to tour one of the most beautiful buildings probably anywhere in the world, California State Capitol. It's more beautiful on the inside than it is on the outside. Kind of like an Oreo cookie is more beautiful on the inside than the outside, even though I don't eat those cookies anymore. But I wanted to just pay homage to Senator Stephen Bradford. Went to his office. He's the chair of the Senate Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Communications in the 35th District. Also, I want to say thank you to Gabriel Diaz, who actually printed out a copy of what I needed. And I'm going to do a little bit of a reading of it today because most programs won't do it. And that's okay. I got what's called from Senator Stephen Bradford, representing the 35th District, SB 490, California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. What does that mean, Big C? The summary is SB 90 will establish the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency for the purpose of implementation, oversight, and monitoring of the policies and laws enacted to reparations. The background. What's the background, Big C? Well, the existing laws establish the task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans, task force, with a special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Existing laws require the task force, among other things, to identify, compile, synthesize the relevant corpus and evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and the colonies as specified, and to recommend the form of compensation that should be awarded, the instrumentalities through which it should be awarded, and who should be eligible for this compensation, as well as various other policy recommendations. I want to jump forward to something that's important. When people talk about what do you do with the task force? Well, the task force recommended legislature create an agency that is dedicated to the implementation and success of the recommendations of the final report. In addition, the task force, it recommended that the legislature would provide the agency with an oversight role to ensure that existing state agencies properly implement the legislative enactments resulting from the task force recommendations. And finally, the task force recommended this agency include various offices to assist with implementation and oversight, including the genealogy office, a business affairs office, an education office, and a strategic partnership office, among others. What's the solution, Big C? Well, the solution is SB 490, Senate Bill 490, will establish the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. The bill will require the agency to implement any recommendations of the task force of other proposals as approved by the legislature and the governor of California. Right now is Gavin Newsom. Senate Bill 490 would also require the agency to oversee and monitor existing state agencies and departments tasked with engaging in direct implementation of the policies that fall within the scope of the existing state agencies and department authorities. I want to give that some praise because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And we've been talking about these agencies for a long, long time. I want to also add my thoughts for people that want to pass reparations. And for those who think it's too difficult, I want you to get out your pen or your cell phone, write this down or Google it. I'll give you 3 seconds to do it. No shucking and jiving. Google Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017. What does that mean, Big C? The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that already requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have already taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist governments. You got to give that some praise. That doesn't make anybody mad. I will just suppose that they're already making sure that descendants of the Holocaust are getting their reparations, and it was black Americans that helped liberate Nazi Germany, and they're still proposing for black Americans, descendants of chattel slavery, African Americans, whatever you want to call it. I just want us to shortcut the process and do what's been done for descendants of Holocaust brethren, and I want us to give that some praise, because we already know that it's possible for reparations because it's already happening. They're not still trying to study anything. They're making sure that it's being done as you're breathing. Are you breathing? If you're breathing, it's happening as you're breathing. And we all want to keep breathing, and when you breathe, breathe deeply. So I want to give congratulations to California Senator Stephen Bradford for Senate Bill 490, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. In order for reparations to happen, we're already behind our Jewish brethren, descendants of Holocaust heirs, but we can copy. You don't have to recreate anything. Just copy what's already working. People already got money in their bank accounts, and we're still studying for black Americans. To me, I don't quite understand why we're all red-blooded people. We got blood running through our veins. All life came from Africa, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel, the number one scientist and genealogist, paleologist in the history of the world, as far as science. They opine all life came from Africa. But people still want to study what black people need when it comes to reparations. Other groups have been paid out. Japanese Americans from internment camps or descendants of Holocaust, they've been paid out. Native Americans been paid out. Other countries around the world have paid reparations. It shouldn't take long to just copy what's been done. But for some reason, there's always this extra effort that's given when there's people of color, black Americans. And that's not right in the eyes of God. Why don't we just copy what's already done? If that makes sense to you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I had my car tire, the air pressure checked just the other day. You know, they said, what pressure do you want, sir? I said, what does it recommend? He said, well, it recommends about 35. I said, let's do 35. They did the front left tire. They did the front right tire. They did the back right tire. They did the back left tire. They said, all your pressures are 35. I said, well, that was easy. He said, yeah, we do the same thing on all cars. Give doing the same thing on all cars and people some praise. He didn't do it something different for black drivers and white drivers. They did the same thing for everybody. Take your car to get the pressure checked sometime. They don't ask you what color you are. All they ask is what's your air pressure. I said, my air pressure is reparations now, reparations forever. California Reparations Task Force. My show is a little bit different. I will get into some NFL football and college football too. But this was a seminal moment today, January 5th, 2024, because it was the first time in the history of my life that I was able to walk into the state capitol with two colleagues for the National Black Wall Street Project. I want to thank the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, the president and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. And I want to say, for the first time in my life walking in there, I had a card that said co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. That's important because I was also able to walk later. I had left. I had a meeting to go to, and I came back, and I had to go to the office to see what we originally went to see. They had moved. They're doing some construction on the state capitol. So they had moved all the lobbyists and the senators to a different location about 2 blocks away, right across from the Secretary of State building where they ironically had the last Reparations Task Force meeting. And I was able to go in there. I think it's 1021 O Street, right across from the Secretary of State building. which is on 1500 11th Street. But I want to give that praise. You either leave, follow, and get out of the way. And we made some recordings with Double O and Brother Lean. And it's going to be on the National Black Wall Street Project's website soon. It's the first one of its kind. You got to give that some praise. It was one small step for man and woman, one giant leap for man and womankind. Give that some praise. Where have we heard that before? I heard before, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And we didn't sit back and chuck and jive and say, well, they ain't going to let that happen. We went down there to shake some hands and ask what we can do to make sure that reparations gets done, and also give what we think will be great for implementation. You got 1,000 people, you ask 1,000 people their opinion, you may get 1,000 different opinions. But when you put things in writing, it tends to weed out the people who are just talk. And I'm proud of what we did today. It wasn't about touchdown, home run, three-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. I say that because the NFL should be championing reparations. The NBA should be championing reparations. Those are leagues that would not exist without the help of black men. Beautiful, strong black men. Intelligent, ambitious. Where are you? You know, I showed up with my colleagues today at the state capitol to champion something for everybody. When I think about my ancestries and realizing that the state capitol was actually built in 1850 or completed in 1850, and when you walk inside of the state capitol, you see so much history from the state of California. And ironically, slavery was abolished in 1865. The Capitol was completed 15 years before slavery was abolished. To stand there in that beautiful architecture with the goal of helping President Abraham Lincoln get his dream accomplished, which was reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. And imagine how proud our African American and even white Americans will be when they realize that we grabbed the baton. Not singing we shall overcome, but actually signing into law that we've overcome. Give that some praise. I said give it praise. You're going to get praise in church. And I want to thank God for it. Because I'm just so emboldened by what happened today. We're not sitting around saying, oh, when are they going to do something? Well, you are the they. We are the they. I am the they. We ask God for favor. And God's giving that favor. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force. And I met with every one of them. The chair, Camila Moore, she's brilliant. I want to give her some praise. I want to give Dr. Emmett C. Brown, the vice chair, some praise. I want to give praise to the #1 senator of the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. I'm going to give him praise. Why is he #1, Big C? Because #1, he's going to help get reparations passed. That's #1. He just sponsored Senate Bill 490. He also helped create the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement give the same resources to finding black children when they go missing as the Amber Alert gives to finding white children when they go missing. He also sponsored name, image, and likeness that helps college athletes get paid on their name, image, and likeness, and they can get paid for their labor. He did that. So I love giving him praise if that makes sense to you. And I'm also able to go into his office today and have a coming soon meeting with him. And I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Devon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Samaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving him praise. As a Japanese American, would you believe his family received reparations for the internment camp that they were placed in? and he believes that we deserve reparations. He's wondering why it takes for Black Americans to take so long. He got reparations, and that was just from the internment camps, not from 1619 to 1865, plus 100 years of Jim Crow. A lot of things that went wrong in this country, in a God-fearing country, in a land of the free, the home of the brave. Even decent white people are for reparations. And I want people to feel that, because as I talk to people who are well-read, they're all for reparations. I found a few that were not. The ignorant people. The ignorant people that think that you can, for nearly 4 centuries, murder, lynch, hang, over-incarcerate, racially profile, redline, black codes, pig laws, all that garbage. Prison industrial complex, when drafted into the war on the front line, last hired, first fired, excluded from the Homestead Act of 1862 that gave over 276 million acres of land away free, but you have to be white. That's not true, Big C. You could also be white European. Well, that's true. You can be white European. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page, that we do want liberty and justice for all. It is more than just getting drunk in sports. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsor of Big C Sports. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsor of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsor of Big C Sports. And I want $6 billion. And give that some praise. I'm serious about this $6 billion. In fact, when I bought my lotto ticket tonight, the lady said, "You look like you're going to win." She said, "Are you a senator?" I said, I am what you think I am, if that makes sense there. I'd rather be a lottery winner, if that makes sense to you. But it's just nice. It's great to see what happened today. And maybe sometimes when you do something the first time, you may not appreciate it. But then as you realize that being there today on a January 5th and talking to the senator's office that is responsible for Senate Bill 490 creating, it's so important that we could create an American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. But I still say, as we are creating the agency, the Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is already United States legislation. It's already done. And it requires the State Department to report to Congress on the steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist governments. They should have included descendants of chattel slavery too. Because when I went to get my tires checked, they asked me what pressure that I want, and I said, well, give it what the tire calls for. They checked all 4 tires. They didn't ask me what color I was. They didn't ask me what ethnic group I belonged to. They didn't ask me about my religion. They didn't even ask if I was over 18. They just did what was on the tire. The tire pressure says recommended 35. And that's what they did. Well, we're in the land of the free, the home of the brave. We all have rights. So why is one group of people being treated differently than another group? They didn't treat my right tire different than my left tire. They didn't treat my front tires different than my back tires. They treated them all the same. Why is it so difficult for politicians to do that? If our Jewish brethren are getting compensation and the State Department reports to Congress to make sure they still get it. How dare you have more meetings about what Black Americans, descendants of chattel slavery, deserve? All car tires are treated the same. And all life came from Africa, the dominant gene. So yeah, I'm passionate about just getting what our descendants of Holocaust receive. Nothing more, nothing less. Give that some praise. It's important to me. It really, today touched me. I want to thank Double O. The payout committee sent me Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. That was signed by President Biden. People have to know that. What did he sign, Big C? On his first day in office, he signed Executive Order 13985. It was January 20, 2021. He signed it already. It's nothing that he's studying. He's already signed it. We got to understand that. He's already signed it. Why couldn't he sign the same thing that our descendants of Holocaust got? Because he signed Executive Order 13985 advancing racial equity and support for the underserved communities through the federal government, which has charged the federal government with advancing equity for all, including communities that have long been underserved, and addressing the systemic racism in our nation's policies and programs. That's from President Joe Biden, that was elected because of the black vote, pejoratively voted for him. We can also deliver resources and benefits equitably to the people of the United States and rebuild trust in government. That's important. He could have signed reparations. It's already happened for other people. What's different about black Americans, African Americans, descendants of child slavery? You got to give me some praise on that. I'm going to talk about the game. They want us talking about games, and we don't realize the biggest game we're being robbed of is the reparations. People talk about the Dallas Cowboys, how the Detroit Lions got robbed in that game, shenanigans, menagerie, whatever you want to call it. But what's the biggest crime in the history of this country? It wasn't whether a football team lost a game. It was slavery. For nearly 3 centuries and then 100 years of Jim Crow. And for those of you who still don't understand why we should have reparations now for descendants of child slavery, you can Google Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott of Florida, because last year they reintroduced a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. Not to create, but to restore! And we're still studying for black Americans. How does that make sense? I thought all people were blessed with the same rights by God. And truth be told, we're the only group on the planet that have 9 series DNA. No other group on the planet than the dominant gene has 9 series DNA, called black people, Africans. Why are we subjected to ancillary treatment? I want to thank Double O Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street. She sent me an article from the United Nations. And it says strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. This is, it's to the point where it's like watching the sun come up tomorrow. It's going to come up tomorrow. It comes up every day. And every day since the sun has come up, since 1619 to 2024, we've yet to have reparations. Before I get into sports, there's a lot of stuff to cover. I'm just so grateful about what happened today. The sun's going to come up again tomorrow. Will reparations be signed into law? Or will they be shucking and jiving? They've already done it for descendants of Holocaust. And because of the efforts of black soldiers, Hitler's reign came to an end. I'm going to say Google this before I get into what I'm going to do for sports. Freedmen's Bank, Google it. Freedmen's Bank, remember Executive Order 13985 that was signed into law the first day by President Joe Biden because black people voted for him in droves? Well, Freedmen's Bank, and keep in mind, I opened the show talking about Senate Bill 490, California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. Senator Stephen Bradford, he's a sponsor of that. Freedmen's Bank, chartered by the United States Congress. That same Congress That is making sure descendants of Holocaust get paid as you're breathing. Are you breathing? March 1865 to provide a place for former slaves to safely store their money after several successful years in which freedmen deposited more than $60 million in the bank. It collapsed in 1874 as a result of mismanagement and fraud. The bank's failure not only robbed many African Americans of their entire life savings, it caused many people to give up in believing that this country is just, that all men are created equal. The need for the bank for freed black Americans became evident during the American Civil War. Lincoln asked black soldiers to help join the Union Army to defeat the Southern Confederates. He gave them their freedom. In reparations, when Lincoln was assassinated, he gave the white slave owners reparations, not the black soldiers. But the African American soldiers in the Union Army who were often denied access to conventional banks, like redlining that we've heard of today, they were often taken advantage of and not allowed to put money in the banks. So they created Freedmen's Bank. It was John W. Alford, a congressional minister. Give him some praise. And Anson M. Spurrier, United States Army paymaster. They individually identified that need and attempted to foster the creation of such an institution in early 1865. Just like Senator Bradford's trying to do in 2024. And it created legislation that was passed by Congress March 3rd, 1865. Unfortunately, the bank had a board of 50 white trustees named to manage the bank's affairs. That was black folks' money that they managed. If you were black, you could not get a loan to buy a house. You could not get a loan to start a business. You could not get a loan to get an education. You could not even get a loan for an emergency. That money was used for investments. They were forbidden to make loans. Freedmen's Bank, the money deposited was to be invested in stocks, bonds, and treasury notes, or other securities of the United States, unlike a conventional bank. And the black people couldn't even get a loan on their own money. You know what happened? Those 50 white trustees that were trusted by Congress, they stole the money! What would happen if you went into a bank and stole $60 million? I don't recommend you try it. With compound interest and the land that appreciated from that money, that's about $14 trillion. $14 trillion! That was supposed to be black people's money. Oh, we don't need no reparations. Why do we need reparations? Can't we just all get along? We can all get along, but the money is due. It's owed. And it hasn't all been spent. President Obama spent some of that money. President Trump spent some of that money. And President Biden spent some of that money. Where do you think the $100 billion came that went to President Zelensky? Black people are due next. You got to get that praise. And that's my, you can Google everything I say with Big C Sports. I don't chuck and jive. I just want to present the facts. Because facts are what we all need. We all need that. So I want to say a personal thank you to Aleem, Brother Aleem, to Double O, and Big C for going into the state capital of California and trying to meet with Senator Stephen Bradford. We'll have to go at another date and table the meeting, but it's going to happen. I want to give you guys all some praise. We're not just talking. We don't all have to agree on how we say and what we say, what we believe. But the fact that a closed mouth does not get fed, I want to give you guys some praise because we did it with the help of the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, as we stand up for the kickoff, I know a lot of you can't wait for the kickoff. I got Big C's NFL football. It's week 18. It's the final week, and I would hope that the NFL would do more than say end racism on the back of their end zones, and it takes all of us, because they should be on board with this reparations movement. You know, when black Americans get their money, there'll be more people able to buy your tickets and buy your paraphernalia and buy your merchandising. You already know that. It will stimulate the economy, just like the Marshall Plan stimulated Europe. Europe was torn down after the war. But the United States and the United Nations, they rebuilt Europe with the Marshall Plan. They didn't rebuild black Americans in the United States. The GI Bill rebuilt white soldiers when they came home from the war. They told black Americans, no! We need reparations now. Congress knows it. You can give me some praise. Week 18, NFL football is my thoughts, and everybody has their own thoughts. You can't please everybody. But I just wanted to get into some things that are important to me, because as much as I love football, I love what happened today even more. But Saturday's game, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens, is 4:30 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on ESPN and ABC, streaming on Fubo TV. The Ravens are a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 35. And when you think about these games, it's one of those classic games where the market expects the Ravens to field a preseason roster against the team with everything to play for in the Pittsburgh Steelers. It may have swung the spread too far toward the Steelers. The Ravens will still have to play. They got to keep the momentum going. You can't just rest teams and feel like they can start it up like a locomotive. Teams have tried that in the past. So I'm thinking about the Ravens. They can rest many starters, including, in my opinion, the eventual MVP, most valuable player, Superman Lamar Jackson, in the final week of the offseason. And they went out and scored 28 points. That's my appointment. My appointment is to say you can rest players, but you do it at your own peril, because if you get rusty, it's hard to start a locomotive again. But I know they're going to rest a lot of their star players all over the country. People are doing that. But I'm going to have, in my opinion, the Baltimore Ravens will win that game. In the Steelers, I mean, they're fighting for the lives, but I still got the Ravens winning that. And then I have another game coming up for you, the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. It is Saturday, 8:15 p.m. East Coast time on ESPN and ABC Sports, streaming on Fubo TV. Indianapolis is a 1.5-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. And it feels like this game is going to come down to how well Gardner Minshew out of Washington State plays. He'll be going up against a Texas defense that has surrendered to the 7th most pass yards in the NFL this year. Minshew took advantage of that in Week 3 in a Colts win over the Texans, where he completed 83% of his passes. I'm going to tell you that the Texans have gotten much better since then. But at the same time, Minshew's a veteran quarterback, and their Colts are favored by 1.5. I'm going to call the upset, if that makes sense to you. I may be wrong, but I'm going to say the Texans going to Indianapolis and pull the upset because they have an explosive offense and they can get the ball downfield. Now we get into Sunday's game. Cleveland, this is for you. The Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a battle for Ohio, Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports, streaming on Paramount. And the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 36.5. And when you think about this game, P.J. Walker is good enough to execute against a defense that he's going to be facing. And when I think about the Browns, I want to see if Cleveland is going to keep this game low scoring. If you're up against the Bengals, who just got eliminated, this could be a letdown spot for them. They may even rest a lot of their starters. And when you rest starters, you got to keep them ready for the playoffs. So in this game, it is the battle for Ohio. In my opinion, I think that Cleveland will rest some players. I'm going to go with the Bengals to cover that game because they have nothing to lose. And Cleveland's going to be better off if they rest some of their players. I got the Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions, Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports and streaming on Fubo TV. The Lions are a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 44. The Lions, their first time in the playoffs in many, many moons. And when you think about these two teams, I like the way Detroit plays. And they're probably going to play hard because they don't want to rest players right now. And I thought they got dropped down in Texas, but those things happen when you go to Texas. I'm going to tell you, they can throw the football. Will they rest Jared Goff? I don't know yet until kickoff starts. But I think the Lions have enough momentum and enough anger in what happened in Dallas to go out and beat Minnesota to close out the regular season. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports, streaming on Paramount. The Jaguars are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 41. The Titans, listen up, people, 800 gambler, I don't bet on sports. The Titans are 0-5 against the spread and 0-5 straight up versus divisional opponents this year. They're coming off a matchup in which they scored just 3 points and had 188 total yards of offense. That's not good. Quarterback Will Levis is banged up, and then sure Mike Vrabel can rally the troops. That's their story. They're sticking with it. Jacksonville, when you think about this team, the Titans and the Jags last played in November. Jacksonville won 34-14. I think Jacksonville wins again. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And everybody has their own opinion. 800 gambler. The New York Jets at the New England Patriots Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports, streaming on Fubo TV. The Patriots are 1.5-point favorite. The over-under is 35. It could very well be the last game Coach Bill Belichick coaches for the New England Patriots, that is. He's not going to catch Don Shula. But it's hard to imagine that the players aren't aware of that possibility. Because the man has 9 Super Bowl championships. 9? Yeah, he got 6 with New England, and he got 2 with with the New York Giants. So that actually be 8. I beg your pardon, has 8 championships as a head coach and defensive coordinator. The man has a great resume. I don't know if it's going to be his last game, though. I don't know why Bob Kraft would have him exit the coaching realm without being able to catch Don Shula. But I do feel that New England's won 15 straight games against the Jets and 12 straight at home. I'm going to go with New England winning this game. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own opinion about Belichick, but he's too good a coach to be watching football on the sofa. And I hope he champions for reparations, and that's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Who that say? They're going to beat them Saints. Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. And streaming on Paramount. The Saints are 3-point favorite. The over-under is 42. And when you think about the Saints, this is a football team that's known for their defense. I'm telling you, there's something about this New Orleans Saints team. They cover well over 50% of the time in simulations, and they're tough. They're tough at home. At the same time, I'm going to go with them. I think they cover, and I think the over-under is going to be more than 42. They'll put up some points. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And also streaming on Fubo TV, the Buccaneers are a 4-point favorite. The over-under is 37. Now, the Buccaneers were trying to upset the rival New Orleans Saints last week, and they need to win against the Carolina team to clinch the division. The Panthers are coming off a deflating 26-0 loss to the Jaguars. Tampa Bay is 7-1 against the spread. Tampa Bay wins this game, and they cover. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. The Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers, the Monsters of the Midway, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports and streaming on Paramount. Now, the Packers, they're a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 43.5 for you gamblers, 800 gamblers. I don't bet on games. I got to tell you, in my opinion, though, the Packers, they can cover. They're at home against Chicago. And when I think about this team, Jordan Love is a good quarterback out of Bakersfield Christian High School and Utah State. Took over when Aaron Rodgers went to play for the Jets. And I like Green Bay winning this game, and they should. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports, streaming on Fubo TV. The Broncos are a 1-point favorite. 1-point favorite at the Raiders. The over-under is 37.5. It's pretty shocking that Antonio Pierce hasn't been given the Raiders job as a head coach, but it makes sense what we know about Jim Harbaugh's desire to return to the NFL. And we'll see what happens after Washington and Michigan play for the national championship. We will see. I'm going to go with the good old boys from Denver going into Las Vegas and beating the Raiders because a lot of people just do. That's my story. I'm taking with it. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports and streaming on Paramount. The Eagles are a 7-point favorite, and the over-under is 45. When you think about these two great franchises, the Eagles have been great lately, the Giants not so much. When I think about touchdown Jalen Hurts, and they were running up for a Super Bowl 57 last year, and the Giants just haven't been able to get their groove back like Stella did in the movie back in the day. But I got to tell you, I like what the Eagles have been able to do against the Giants. They just beat them a week ago, and they'll probably beat them again, and I think they'll cover the spread by 7. That's my story. I'm taking with it. The Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And streaming on Fubo TV, the Seahawks are favored by 3. The over-under is 46.5. The Cardinals are coming off of their Super Bowl beating. Think about it. They beat the Eagles. That was their Super Bowl. And they beat them outright in Philadelphia to ruin Jonathan Gannon's old team season. The Seahawks are fighting for their playoffs lives. Go with the Seahawks winning the Dirty Bird contest. That makes sense to you. But Pete Carroll says he won't let his team stop trying to compete. One thing to say about Pete Carroll, that man chews bubblegum better than anybody else in the NFL. I got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. And streaming on Paramount, the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 36. The Chiefs are in the playoffs, so they will play next week. So who plays this week? Blaine Gabbert is set to go in place of touchdown Patrick Mahomes. The Chargers, meanwhile, head into an offseason with a lot of question marks, but why did their season not turn out the way they thought it would? They were in the playoffs last year. This year, they're going to be watching on the sofa. That makes sense to you. You got to go with Kansas City winning this game because they tend to win games that they have to, even if they don't cover the spread. The LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers in Denver Hills, California, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And streaming on Fubo TV, the 49ers are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 44.5, but a lot of stars are not playing. Brock Purdy is not going to start. And I hear they maybe keep Matthew Stafford out of the starting ranks. The Rams, they have already clinched the playoff spot. This game only matters for seeding purposes. The 49ers got the number 1 seed. The Rams will play their hearts out. They're going to try to lock up the number 6 seed. But if they lose, they could end up as a 7th seed. So it really doesn't matter as much to the 49ers other than ego. Resting your starters makes sense, but you don't want to lose momentum because you also get that first round bye. But they've decided what they're going to do. They're going to rest a lot of their starters for the 49ers. Well, that's their story. They're sticking with it. The 49ers win that game, and they do cover the spread, in my opinion. How about those Cowboys at the Washington Commanders, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And streaming on Fubo TV, the Cowboys are 13-point favorite. The over-under is 48. I'm not falling for the 13-point favorite. The over-under is 48. The Cowboys are far and away the better team, and they need this game to secure the NFC East. There's no let-up in Mike McCarthy's team. I think they'll travel to FedEx Field, and they'll win. Now, think about it. The Commanders this season, they've yet to record against a spread win at home. They're 0-6-1 against the spread record. That's for you bettors in Vegas. Dallas wins this game, but I don't think they cover the spread. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins, Sunday, 8:20 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on NBC Sports and streaming on Fubo TV. The Dolphins are favored by 1.5. The over-under is 49. And when you think about the Dolphins and the Bills, this should be like a playoff game. Both teams have a lot going for them, but I'm going to take Miami down in that heat and humidity of Florida. That's my opinion. But many people feel that Buffalo's playing some of the best football in the AFC. I'm not necessarily going to go against that thought, but I do think that Miami win because they're at home. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Give it some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. And that's week 18 of NFL football. I also know there are a couple of other games that are slated for college football national championship, the FCS college football championship. Oh, man, these are some great football programs. When you think about the FCS, I have some great programs to watch. But it's hard to get the same kind of coverage that the big boys get. You got South Dakota State. They're going to face Montana in the FCS championship game January 7th in Frisco, Texas. And no matter what you think, a jackrabbit versus a grizzly. In reality, a grizzly would maul a jackrabbit. But these jackrabbits are a little bit different. South Dakota State, the number 1 team in the nation, defending FCS champions. They are 14-0. They've won 28 in a row. Montana, number 2 in the country. They are 13-1 and winners of 10 in a row and appearing in his 8th national championship game. and I wish them all nothing but the best. But my story is, it's hard to repeat as a champion. And if I was in a real bet, I would always bet on a grizzly to maul a jackrabbit. Montana State get that national championship. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You want to give them some praise for reaching the championship game. And now the big boys kick off in Indian Hills, Texas. The number 1 Michigan Wolverines take on the number 1 Washington Huskies. And I'm going to give you my thoughts in that game. It's the final college football playoff national championship bracket of the 4-team era. Next year, they expand to 12 teams. And it features the Big Ten's number 1 Michigan Wolverines versus the Pac-12's number 1 Washington Huskies. And they square off on Monday in Houston. The winner will emerge as the last undefeated team in the standings for the FBS ranks, while bringing home the first college football national title for their school. Michigan last won their national title in the Rose Bowl. Well, Washington won their last national title also in the Rose Bowl. They beat Michigan. So Michigan won theirs in 1997, the year before the BCS system went into effect, and Washington in 1991 on the late Donnie James. So both teams are very good on defense. I think Michigan's defense is a little bit more stout, but Washington's offense is hard to stop. It seems like if you can't score 30 points, you're not going to beat Washington. The Huskies' contrasting styles of running the football, and then they can throw over the top with Michael Penix, the second. Should have been the Heisman Trophy winner, but they gave it to Jalen Daniels out of LSU. All friend, love, and war. I think Washington throws the ball, and they throw the ball often because unless Michael Penix has a bad game, you're going to stretch that secondary for Michigan, and they're going to make them get tired trying to cover the deep pass, and that's where they can come underneath with their run game. Well, what about Michigan, Big C? I think Michigan can run the ball with chrome against Washington's defense. Texas had a little bit of success running against Washington, but they're a bend but don't break defense. You got to think about Jim Harbaugh probably looking at an NFL job, and DeBoer's looking at staying at Washington. I think the most important player in this game, irrespective of the great defenses on both sides, they both have great defenses. The most important player in this game is a good old boy from down south told me, Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. He's a 6-year senior. He's 25-2 in 2 seasons as a Husky starter after a promising but injury-plagued run at Indiana over 4 seasons. While the Hoosiers, Penix played under second-year coach, Washington coach Kalen DeBoer, who was then serving as Indiana offensive coordinator. The two reunited at UW, at University of Washington in Seattle, in 2022. And the results have been spectacular. He's surpassed 4,600 passing yards each of his past 2 years, and finished second in Heisman Trophy voting this season. He's so accurate, a southpaw. He's very precise, a left-handed guy that can run and pass. He's a run-pass option. During the Sugar Bowl, he lit up Texas for 430 passing yards. His top target is wide receiver Roma Duzzi, who's the number 1 pick in the NFL, in my opinion. He has 87 catches, 1,553 yards, and 13 touchdowns, often double-teamed. You'll hear that name a lot on Monday night. Michigan's defense is good, but no matter how good their defense is, you get tired when you have to cover a receiver for 4 seconds because Penix can roll out of the pocket and buy more time, a lot like Patrick Mahomes does, a lot like Caleb Williams last year. So if Michigan can control the clock by running and pounding the ball, Texas had a hard time running against this Washington team. They had a couple of good luck interceptions or turnovers, but I don't see them being any more explosive than Texas on offense. Now, Michigan's defense is good. They held Alabama to 21 points. But I look at what Washington did against Texas. Against Texas, Washington put up 37 points. And it could have been more. They had a turnover that led to a touchdown for Texas. I don't see anyone holding Washington under 31 points. Michigan's defense is good, but Alabama took them to overtime. And they played close against Ohio State also. It's a neutral site. I think the air raid for Washington, you pick up more yards when you throw downfield, and the quarterback, Penix, is so accurate. I'm going to go with the Huskies winning another national championship as they close out the Pac-12. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, it's all fair and love and war. I wish everybody the best. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because Mothers Against Drunk Drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking and start driving. The life you say may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to say I love giving praise to my family legacy. On my mother's side, my beautiful grandparents, Mamo and Pop, my grandparents, Muddeer and Hezekiah, my beautiful mother, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. One of the Head Start program and the food program, always saying rise and shine. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my grandfather, Albert Curry, my grandmother, Alberta Curry, my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, my beautiful brother Todd, but that bombastic voice sound like thunder and lightning when Todd speaks. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And your father was at the state capitol in California today, making sure that we could talk about getting reparations done with the great, inimitable Senator Stephen Bradford. You got to give that some praise because reparations will happen. And Big C Sports was there with the National Black Wall Street Project. I want to also say, as I always say, for everyone that follows Big C Sports around the world, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. What about Triple D Brown, Big C? Oh, that's right. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Jubal Dini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, you know I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Because every time I follow Big C Sports, I want to say reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story, I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says that never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage. You know anybody going through that garbage, simply pick up the phone and call 911. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to be abused. And when the police show up, people change. Never let someone do that to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. What about President Abraham Lincoln, Big C? Well, give me just a second. I want to say, back by popular demand, what I always say on this show. Let's pay homage to President Abraham Lincoln if you have a decency in your heart. What did he tell President Joe Biden to do? He said, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like your heart is really into it. What is he asking Congress and President Joe Biden to do? Especially if you want to be reelected. He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like you're going to be cheering for your team when they play the game this weekend. Sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.